Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Katrina Robertson.
Hello everybody.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's lovely. It was always lovely when you asked me, so it's great that I could be here with you today.
Yeah, and this has been a much long-awaited interview, so it's
Yes,
kind
it
of
has.
crazy that it's finally happening. But yeah, Katrina, world champion record holder for powerlifting, and how much was it? 263?
Deadlift is 263.5 kilos,
Yeah, and that's crazy. And then when you learn about like what Katrina has been through, it makes it even more incredible. But I'd just like to jump right in.
Yes, let's do it, Karen.
Good attitude. Yeah. So Katrina, I want to start from the beginning. So like about you in high school, what kind of child would they describe you?
Probably not a good student.
Oh.
Yeah, I was always the one that liked to be the class clown and have a bit of fun, but I loved sport, so sport was everything. I'd sit in class and dream about being out on the field playing sport. So I didn't really do much academically. I didn't find that my interest really went down the academic path, so yeah, I just like to play sport. That's really why I went to school. Was to be with my mates and to play
that's so
sport.
cool.
Yep.
And were you a bit of like a tomboy growing up?
Always a tomboy.
Man.
Yeah, always a tomboy. My dad was a plumber, so
that's cool.
I used to go to work with him, so he learned all sorts of great things, anything to be physical. It was great. Anything to get out of the housework. So off to work with Dad, so that was great.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, especially like, not like afraid to get your hands dirty, not
No.
afraid to,
Absolutely not.
breaking that feminine.
Well, we girls can do anything.
Yeah, I love that attitude.
Yeah, I enjoyed it though.
Yeah, and then what sports did you play during high school? You like played like a crazy amount.
Well, I
Swimming.
guess back, when I was at high school, there wasn't a lot of sporting opportunities for girls. So, the thought of representing Australia or playing elite sport wasn't an option when I was there. So, but I just loved to play sport. So I'd play softball, I'd swim, I'd play tennis, basketball. I loved basketball. Hockey, Vigoro, you name it. If there was a game to be played, I'd be playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you said which one was your favorite basketball, right?
I would have loved to. I've always been a big fan of basketball, and I just loved the physicality of basketball. But I never thought that you could kind of go on and represent Australia in basketball.
because
It
it
was
wasn't
never
common.
something I really considered or thought was there. The big saying now is, if I can't see it, I don't know I can do it. And we didn't have television back then either. I think it was 17 when my family got a television. So I'm talking about growing up in central Queensland. So there wasn't a lot of things out there to see, but I did see I read a book once I wasn't a great student, so I read a book once and it had lots of photographs in it, and one of them was Dawn Fraser. And here she was, there's this story of Dawn Fraser standing up there winning her Olympic medals with the flowers and the big Olympic medal around her neck. And I remember thinking, oh wow, that must be amazing to do that. How amazing is she? But never thinking at any stage that I would have an opportunity to do that. I just loved playing sport.
Yeah, that's cool, because I read in your bio that you said that during high school you did dream of representing in the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, what sport was that, Katrina?
Well, I did really well in swimming, and I did well in athletics. So, the strengths, more the strength side of things in discus and shot put and javelin.
Yeah.
So when I left school, there was, Commonwealth Games in '82, and I was thinking, wow, if I practiced a lot, I could maybe get in the Australian team, or just see what I could do, because I did win some state titles when I was 16 at school. I went to Melbourne, which was so big back then, going to the big smoke. And I came third in the Australian All Schools Championships for discus.
Wow.
So I thought, oh, maybe that could be something I could do. But didn't quite know how to get there or do it. There wasn't a lot of pathways to show girls what they could do.
Yeah.
But there was a javelin thrower called Sue Howland who came from Mackay, and she was doing really well and ended up going to Olympics and things. But I remember thinking, oh, maybe I could do that. So when I left school, I started training to save some money, maybe to move to Melbourne to get some coaching, because I'd never had a coach before then. So yeah, that's where my thought of going to the Commonwealth Games came from. And that photo that I saw of Dawn Fraser, I can't imagine what it must be like to put that Olympic medal around your neck and hold the flowers and hear the national anthem. Yeah, that would be really cool. That I remember thinking that, but never thinking that I would kind of get to experience it.
It's like this distant dream kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, if you, as I said, if you don't see it or you're not part of it, you don't know it exists. So from a young girl, it was just I just loved playing sport, and I'd play any sport I could. Yeah, I'd play marbles if I could, or
it
doesn't matter. It doesn't. No, I don't think it is, but it was fun. Always competitive.
I love that.
Yeah, always competitive.
But then when you were 18, what happened, Katrina?
Well, I was, I'd moved to Mackay and, got any jobs that I could, because I was voted at school least likely to succeed.
Oh, I hate those.
And I kind of think, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really, take much notice of it. But when I left school, everyone sort of thought, well, what are you going to do? You failed everything at school, and you didn't do much. You haven't got a high school certificate. And I was the only one that wasn't worried. And I guess that's what happens when you're 17. You tend not to worry about those things. So I got all sorts of jobs. I worked in a post office. I worked for a vet, doing brucellosis testing. I worked in a gym. I just learned how to pay my bills and whatnot. And I also was the coach, even at that young age. I was coach of the Slade Point Athletics Club, which was eventually Kathy Freeman's club. So I coached the Slade Point Athletics Club, and the only way I could get around was my brother had this motorbike that he said, you can have that motorbike to get around. And it cost 32 cents to fill up.
Oh, so good.
So that's how I got around. And one day when I was going to training out to Slade Point, I had an accident. This car turned in front of me, and I went underneath the car because there was gravel in the road. So I actually went underneath the car and then hit the front of the car and then got thrown back. And I guess that was one of those, I don't know, defining moments in life. Life changed dramatically or significantly from there. And I remember people running towards me, and the woman who actually was driving the car yelled out, "She's dead, she's dead." And I said, I wanted to yell out, "No, I'm not, no, I'm not." It was one of those funny things. I look back and think, they're the things that you have to have a joke about in those kinds of things. Because my helmet was all smashed and there was lots of blood and things, and I broke bones, and I was yelling out, "No, I'm not, no, I'm not." And then anyway, it was a significant time. I got rushed to hospital. The sirens were going, and I guess 2 years later,
oh wait, I want to go. But I'm kind of curious. When it did you feel a lot of pain at the time, or was it just blackout?
I didn't initially. I stayed awake through the whole thing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't get knocked out at all, but I just got a new helmet, a full-faced helmet back then, which was fairly new back then. And I remember my mum saying to me, "Make sure you get a proper helmet before you ride that bike." So I had got a proper helmet with the proper, but it was actually smashed. The part of the force of hitting the grill of the car, broke it. So that is what protect. But I did break a lot of things, and there was lots of blood everywhere, but I didn't feel any pain initially. Probably, I don't know, another half an hour, and then the pain set in. By the time all the ambulance came and whatnot, I was in quite a bit of pain. And I remember, and I still get pain from this, discomfort. I wouldn't say pain, it's actually more discomfort. So yeah, I guess I do have lots of memories because I was not unconscious at any stage.
Yeah.
And I still remember all of it.
Oh,
and I can go back, I can go straight back there, and it's not necessarily an uncomfortable, but I have, as I reflect over the years, because I was, 18 then?
Yeah.
And I'm now 61, so we are going back a long way, but it's still a very vivid memory because it was a very significant change in my life. Enduring, being in and out of hospital, or being in hospital for a long period of time, which is pretty boring for an 18-year-old, let me tell you.
Yeah, especially an athletic 18-year-old.
Yeah, really physical, always playing sport. If I could play sport 3 times a day, I would. And all of a sudden, here I am, dazed in a hospital bed, having to sign, actually my mother signed the form because the doctor said, we're not going to be able to save that right leg. We'll have to amputate. So I remember my mother signing the form to have the amputation, and me being a bit dazed, and I remember how stoic my mum was at the time. And then I came back from surgery after it was quite a long time. I don't really remember the time frames, but yeah, I still have my leg.
Yeah, and how come, you signed the form away, so...
Well, the doctor said, look, we just wanted to see if, what we'll do is we'll just see, because it was kind of just hanging.
Oh.
I know, and it was a compound fracture, so there was lots of fractures through the leg, and I lost about 1.5 inches of my leg, because you won't know. I've actually got a thing that's in my shoe, because that helps with that 1.5 inches, and my nieces and nephews always call me Eileen if I don't have my shoes on, because I lean over every time I walk. If I've just got a pair of thongs on, they always tease me, saying, Auntie Trina, you're Eileen today.
So innocent, but not really.
Oh, look, it's just a laugh. It's a bit of fun. You've got to have a laugh at those kinds of things. So, I guess in lots of ways for a young person at 18, there was a lot of things to learn, and there was a lot of things to try and comprehend and take on board, and you learn about choices. Because as you go through, you think, wow, I can either do this an okay way, or I can either do this not an okay way. And I guess through that, I learnt about and got exposure to things like, I learnt how to smoke in hospital.
Oh my gosh.
I know, because those are the days where you could smoke you could smoke at your bed, or you could, and I remember this other motorcycle, she had an accident as well, and she said, do you want to smoke? I said, oh, no, not really. And then after a while I thought, I'm bored.
Yeah.
So, I started smoking. I mean, who takes up smoking in hospital? What a weird thing.
Yeah.
But there are all these, we all learn as we go along that, there's lots of things that we get exposed to, or that we observe, or that sometimes when you're young you want to explore. And I guess it was one of those things. I mean, I certainly stopped smoking because it would go against all the things that, a sports person does.
Yeah.
But I probably followed a path that a lot of young people do: drink too much, smoke too much, and I guess at some stage it was, I got a choice to make here. What do I do? I don't suppose it's about whether I do something or don't do something. It's about, I want my life to be a certain thing. And if I want my life to be different, or I want to try other things, then we have to make decisions towards that.
Yeah.
And that's about possibilities.
Yeah.
There are infinite possibilities that we have in our lives. And I guess that was, I look back sometimes and I wonder what would have happened if I'd never had that accident.
Yeah.
What would, now that I have, I look back and say, well, I can't change it, but it taught me a lot of hard things.
Yeah.
That, you know, sometimes we need to make the most or learn about ourselves in a way that we can make sense of it. And when you're that young, you don't always have all the information.
Yeah.
So you make decisions based on where you're at the time, and sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not great. But you learn. Everyone learns along the way. So we're not going to get it right all the time.
Yeah, but that's definitely a good, you know, attitude to life. Sort of make it up as you go. And I really like
Well, you
how
have to make it up as you go, because you can only go on the information you have. It's easy to look back.
Yeah.
But at the time, that's what made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a bit of a wild child. I mean, I like to laugh and joke and play and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So like what sort of, I don't know, like, because, yeah, I guess when you're in that situation, you have the doctors telling you that, you know, you can't do sports again and, you know, leaving a more sort of sedentary lifestyle. So like, I'm kind of like, you know, this is like, I guess in general we hold like doctors' opinion in high esteem. So like, is it like sort of, I don't know, you know, factors of being young, being naive, that people, that you're not exposed to like what can be possible and what can't be possible, like knowing your limitations?
I often think about, you know, doctors, we give them so much responsibility to tell us what we can and can't do, when in fact, you know, they've got to give you a guesstimate of what you can go with. But it doesn't mean that that's the end part. We have to go out and try things. We have to go out and look at, well, okay, these might be the parameters they've given me to get a sedentary job, you know, that I won't ever play sport again, blah, blah, blah. But in essence, you know, sport and life is full of things that people have accomplished when they've been told that they can't. You know, there's a million stories out there of people that have just tested the boundaries, and that's all I did. And as I said, I think we're really hard on doctors having to give us this definitive thing about this is what we can do, because they can't, you know, they're not trying to give you a definitive to say yes or no, but they're just giving you what they know at that time. And then it's up to you to go away and practice, or you to go away and think about what that means. You know, we'd never have a Paralympics if people thought, oh, I can't do that.
Oh, that's so true.
You know, Dylan Alcott, I watched his interview last night, and, you know, he's retiring next year, and, you know, the things that he's achieved around what he thought it would never be possible for him. And here he is, one of the greatest Paralympians ever. Or para athletes, you know, as a tennis player, he's just broken every record. So I think for us humans, we're too quick for people to tell us what we can and can't do, or what we're capable of. And it's our role, it's our job, and it's our challenge and our curiosity to go out and think, well, you know, what is possible? Nobody's telling me that I can't do it. I mean, nobody could say, well, Katrina, you're not going to be a world powerlifting champion. I mean, nobody would have thought that was even possible, but...
That would have been funny though.
Yeah, but you know, remember I was a nurse.
I was curious. So they're like, okay, Katrina, you know, don't lift heavy objects. And then you're like, hey, nursing. Well, how does that happen?
Well, that was an interesting thing to be doing, because they're saying be sedentary, get a sedentary job, and all of a sudden I put my name down to nursing. And the reason why I put my name down nursing was I had all these people saying, Katrina, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Blah, 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 blah. And I had no idea. Like we ask any young person, what are you going to do with your life? They all go, oh, I don't know. Because we don't usually have an idea. And people kept saying to me, why don't you go nursing? And I thought, oh, that's study. Who wants to do that? And besides, I've spent the last 2 years in and out of a hospital. Who wants to go, you know, back and work there? So anyway, I thought, oh, I'll just put my name down, not thinking that they would ever call me. And about a month after that, I got a call to say, Katrina, do you want to start nursing in 2 weeks? And this is the hospital that I actually spent time in that You know, I wasn't the best patient when I was in my wheelchair. I think there was one time I was in my wheelchair and I used to try and see if I could slide around corners. And I remember running into they called them the matron back then, and I ran into her coming around one of the corners. And she was the one that I had to go for the interview with, which I thought was really weird that she was happy to put my name down. But anyway, I rocked in there. And so all of a sudden I started nursing, and I went to my doctor, the orthopaedic specialist, and he said, "Oh, well, Katrina, if you want to do that, that's okay, we'll find a way." And you know, going nursing taught me probably one of the greatest all the greatest lessons I have in life started because it taught me everything about, well, you nurse people good and bad and everywhere in between. You know, you see people at their worst and you see people at their best. You know, and you see some people who manage amazingly to get through just some of the most ridiculous experiences ever. And then others that don't. And, you know, it's a privilege when people share those moments with you. I feel as a nurse it was a real privilege for people to share, you know, often the end of their life. And, you know, then I got to see on the other side of the bed what it's like.
Oh, that must be so weird for you.
It was weird at the start, but then I loved it. I loved the human interaction, and I loved people sharing all the good and the bad things, and discovered that actually, because I related to it, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I learned some amazing things.
You must have inspired so many people, right? Like.
Well, they inspired me.
Oh, that's incredible.
They inspired me. You know, sometimes people find themselves in situations that they never thought they would be, and I watch people's courage and the privilege of them, you know, trusting me to support them and to help them, and I learned a lot. There's lots of people that I nursed that I still remember, and the joy of being able to support them and you know, be a significant, because I know how significant it is when you find yourself in hospital.
Yeah.
So, you know, the way that we, care for people in that situation and be able to talk to them. I mean, I was one of those nurses that was happy to sing, I was happy to dance, whatever it was that might change the energy or give people. And I had some great senior nurses and sisters that really taught me some important things about how to care and how not to judge. That everybody has their own way of dealing with things, and we accept that, and that's what we support people to be the best that they can be in that situation.
Yeah, sounds like you learned a lot of compassion and kindness.
A lot of compassion and kindness. And I guess it's when you actually are on one side of the bed and then you go to the other side of the bed, you get to, you know, you kind of integrate a lot of knowledge. And I think that's where I had the sense to think, you know, maybe there's more I can do in nursing. Because I remember going to Brisbane when I finished my training, and I worked at Greenslopes Repat Hospital when it was a repatriation hospital. So I nursed there, and I you know, I guess my privilege was even more that I got to nurse sort of every digger from all the wars and their families. And so you got to understand a whole different context around people who, you know, serve in our armed forces, and the stories that I got to hear. And, you know, that kind of, really, I got this curiosity about, you know, what is it about we humans that you know, we have different experiences, but some manage really well and some don't. And then I realised that, you know, sometimes talking to people, it actually improved their healing, and you know, being more human and understanding the context of what people's experiences were, and, you know, having that honour of some of those diggers sharing their, you know, terrible stories with you. You know, I find that one of the greatest privileges, that they trusted me enough to do that. So I started thinking, Because that was the first time that you know, the medical profession started to talk about post-traumatic stress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was, you know, in the early 80s. So, you know, there was lots of psychologists that would come to the ward, and I'd think, wow, what do those people do?
Yeah.
And I remember one of the psychologists saying to me, you know, have you ever thought of going to study? It never occurred to me that I could go to university. I mean, when I said to my family that and friends that I was thinking of going to study psychology, they all laughed because I have never been someone that studied, and I was good at nursing because I was a good practical nurse. You know, because we did hospital training back then, so when I saw things or people showed me, I picked it up really quickly. And really forced myself to do the exams and whatnot. But, you know, the whole going to university, I thought, oh, I'm too dumb for that. Because that's what you're told, isn't it? You know, you talk about infinite possibilities, and, you know, how you did at school, to anyone that's listening out there, how you did at school has got nothing to do with your success as an adult. You know, there are many, many stories of people just like myself who were not, I really wasn't interested in learning at school. But, you know, I found something that I wanted to know more about. So that changed my, you know, my idea on what that might be. So I applied for uni, got knocked back at a couple of unis, but Toowoomba, you know, it accepted my enrolment.
Amazing.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, can I do it? Then I had all this self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I was still nursing at Greenslopes then, and everyone had a bit of a laugh thinking, you're going to university? Really? Katrina, can you do that? Like, you don't study or you don't read? And I just thought, oh well, I don't know what I have to do, but let me have a go. Let me see if I can do it. I think it was more naivety than anything, but it was like that little bit of, somebody's telling me I can't do it.
It's that challenge.
Yeah, someone's telling me I can't do it, and I'm really not comfortable with that, so I'm going to have a crack. And it wasn't anything about spite, but it was just something in me thinking, well, I don't know if I can do it or not, but if I can't, that's okay, but I've got to have a crack at it. So I remember when I got to uni and we had to do all these, I actually ended up, I couldn't fill out the enrolment forms properly, so I actually ended up enrolling in subjects in engineering because I didn't put the right things.
Oh no.
Anyway, I figured it all out, or somebody helped me, you know, I was in psychology, and then, of course, psychology is a lot of maths and research, and I don't think I ever passed a maths test at school. I probably did in grade 1, I don't know, but we had this particular research subject first, and we all had to do just a general maths just to see where we're at to begin with, and out of that exam I got 3 out of 50. But I was not daunted because the woman next to me got 2 out of 50. Wow. And we became really good friends. And I actually ended up I got A's for statistics.
Oh my gosh.
Straight A's for statistics for 4 years. So it just, you know, the message is you don't know what you can do until you have a go. And there's no shaming having a go. You know, shame is one of the biggest things that stops us doing things. It's really about, if you're curious about something, have a crack at it, have a go at it. You know, if you find it's not something you want, then that's okay. But I loved studying. I became one of those nerds that I used to chuck off at school, that used to sit up the front and take everything in and write everything down. But I nursed at the same time to pay myself through uni. I worked night shift in Toowoomba and then went to uni during the day. And I absolutely value that education. I, you know, really appreciated that I got the opportunity to go to uni. Loved it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, like, how does one go from like barely passing to straight A's? Like, did you sort of implement some sort of study, or was it just the fact that you're really good at, you know, setting your mind to something and then doing it?
Well, I think it was more about you know, I was doing something that I'd decided I wanted to do, and I was interested. You know, as soon as I opened all those books on people and human behaviour and, you know, social psychology, because I did a combination of social psychology. It was more of behavioural science, so I had anthropology as well. Anthropology, sociology and psychology. So I was absolutely transfixed, and I got mostly A's and B's through my 4 years because I loved what I was doing, and it was application. I wanted to do it because I was interested in it. At school, couldn't be bothered. I really, you know.
Yeah. I think that's quite interesting because I think sometimes, in school you can't necessarily see the link, like how would this be useful, like what am I going to do with this knowledge?
Yeah. But you know, I did look back and think, oh gee, I wish I'd studied at school and learnt all these things. I wish I'd read a book. So for any of you people out there that are at school, you know, even just have a crack and read, or, you know, even if you don't read, watch lots of things that people do and how they do it, and be curious. I think the best gift you can give yourself is to be curious about what's out there, and curious about yourself and what you can do.
That's so
but you know, I was 26 when I went to uni. 26, yeah. So I registered as a psychologist at 31.
Was it harder to be, I guess, like an older student?
No, not really. Well, it's really good because you're not interested in going out and partying.
That drinking, being that.
Going to O Week and, you know, wearing a toga and drinking too much. I don't know if they still do those things.
Yeah, they do.
They do. Bring back the toga, I say. But, you know, at different times in your life, you have different reasons why you do things. And it's just being clear what that reason is for. If you really want to be something, if there's something in particular that you want to be, and as a psychologist, I've been a psychologist, this is my 30th year.
Oh my gosh,
so
congrats.
The conversations I've had about people who say, you know, I'd really like to do blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, let's talk about how you do that. What are you doing today to get there? Because it doesn't come along on a sushi train, does it? Hey, it doesn't come along, you know, in a drive-through. You've got to work hard. You've got to put yourself into it, and you've got to decide, okay, I'm going to have a go at that, or, you know, each day I'm going to read 5 pages of a book, or, you know, it could just be I'm going to walk every day, and that's going to help my, you know, my mental and physical health. Or I'm going to ring one friend every day. It doesn't matter what it is that you want to be. I mean, not everyone's plan is to be, you know, a world champion powerlifter or an astronaut or a CEO or a whatever. It could just be, you know, I want to be a great mum, or, you know, I just want to be really healthy, and I want to do 3 chin-ups. I still can't do a chin-up, by the way.
That's crazy.
One day I will. One day I will.
Is that on the bucket list?
That's on the bucket list. One day. Yeah. Chris and I always have a bit of fun at that. He always wants me to do a triathlon, and I said, well, I'll do a triathlon because he's a triathlete, and as long as you do a powerlifting competition. So one day that fun will happen.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I'm also kind of curious, like, have you always, I guess, been that kind of kid that does what they want? Because a lot of people, like when you're younger, right, you always try to fit in with your peer group. And I'm wondering, like, where did that self-confidence come from? Is that more that curiosity can, I guess, like, be stronger than shame? Or what is it that...
Well, it's interesting because people say, Katrina, you always come across as confident. And I always say, I was never a confident kid.
That's a good
I was
story.
one of those kids that, you know, always masked my sense of shame, or, you know, but I just couldn't help have a go at things. And then eventually I decided I have to be myself. I have to, I couldn't be anyone else. And I remember somebody said to me, Katrina, just be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Oh, so cliche.
Yeah,
That's so true.
and it was kind of like a bit of a slap.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, if everyone else is taken, I better be me. But I was never a confident kid. Like most people, you're out there trying to put that persona so that you're okay. And what tends to happen is people really make that persona, you know, so closed that they tend not to go out of that
Yeah.
to experience different things. You know, why don't people in class put their hand up to ask a
Yeah.
question? You know, I always think one of the gifts you can give yourself is to be that person. Try it, put your hand up and ask the question you really want, and then the other people in the room say, oh, thank goodness they asked that question. Isn't that what happens?
Yeah.
Why do we not want to put ourselves forward to experience things or to show people that we're smart?
Or dumb.
Yeah. But you know, that's you've got to be vulnerable at some stage to explore. You've got to let yourself trust that, oh, okay, I don't know what might happen here, but let me give it a go, and I'll learn along the way, because that's how we learn. You don't learn by doing all the right things. You learn by coming up against things that, you know, you find difficult, or things that you didn't quite expect, because we don't know everything. You know, even at my age, I don't know everything, but, you know, you still learn, but you've got to be open to learn. You've got to let yourself be a little vulnerable. Sometimes we have to trust the things that other people teach us as well, and observe.
Yeah.
Observe other people and see what they do in those circumstances. I learned a lot from, you know, the powerlifting competitions, because you see how other people manage pressure.
Oh, that would be fascinating.
Yeah, and you see all the relationships in between coaches and, you know, their athletes and the officials.
And as a psychologist, you got that upper edge.
Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, you know, and that's what we do in the world. We observe. That's how we learn. That's how we learn as children.
Yeah.
You know, we watch what mum and dad do, and we watch what everyone else does around us.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn.
Yeah, that's so cool, because even though, like, maybe perhaps when you were younger you weren't like book smart, but like you were learning in your own way. You were learning by example.
Well, that's how we learn.
Yeah.
I mean, academic learning is only a part of learning.
Yeah.
We learn, you know, academic learning when we're young is only part of what we need to learn about the world. We've got to learn about, you know, all that other big world out there, and how we interact and how we make friends, and, you know, how we have those conversations when our friends say mean things, or, you know, there's always circumstances about, you know, if we're bullied, or, you know, learning to, you know, what are the things I can say back, or what are the things I can do in response to that? Because as soon as we take that on board, we internalise that and we think that that is us.
Yeah.
No, you know yourself better than anyone else. And if we start taking on board, like in my life, if I'd listened to everything that people had said to me, I wouldn't have achieved anything.
Yeah.
You know, you're too dumb, or, you know, you're not smart enough, or you're too fat, or you know, you don't dress right, or, you know, you don't speak the way we do, or you don't like the same things, or, you know, you don't put makeup on every day, or, you know, we could all have the biggest list.
Yeah.
Chuck that list in the bin and create the one that in fact is in the middle. You know, we're always going to have negatives and struggle with negatives. That's life. But we also have to have you know, just as many positives to say, well, maybe I can have a go at that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's so amazing. Yeah, yeah. But I'm kind of curious about, like, that switch from nursing to psychology. How was that transition?
Oh, it was easy. I loved psychology.
Really? But I mean, like, you know, I guess nursing, it's quite active, right? You're helping people doing stuff. And then psychology, it's like you sit down and you get in their heads. So for a really active person like you, was it hard to?
Well, remember, nursing, I still was limited in, you know, I still hadn't, you know, I still wasn't at the gym. I wasn't doing any hard physical stuff, but I was on my feet a lot, which I, you know, in some ways I find it interesting, because I did have discomfort. You know, because of, you know, I was on my feet all the time, but I was strong. You know, I still had to, you know, nursing actually gave me the activity that I needed. And it gave me the engagement, and it gave me a context to learn all the experiences I had in the last couple of years. So I was really lucky in that way, that, and there was no sort of, you know, career decision making. It was just a serendipity thing that I fell into nursing. Yeah. And a serendipity thing that I fell into psychology. So the transition was just because it just seemed right at the time.
Yeah.
But I guess psychology, yes, it's not, you do a lot of sitting, and I didn't find that trend. I think that's probably what encouraged me to think, oh, I've got to do some activity, I've got to do some exercise. How am I going to, do this? Maybe I could try to go to the gym.
Hey.
And there was an article in the local paper, because I'd moved to Mackay by then. And there was an article in the paper about the World Masters Championships at the end of the year. And I thought, oh, well, maybe I could do the discus and shot put. It doesn't mean it, even though I've got some limitations, I can still go in it. And wouldn't that be cool? The World Masters was in Brisbane. Wouldn't that be cool to do? So I thought, I might just go to a gym and see. I'll talk to the guy at the gym, and he said, oh, okay, that's no worries, come and train with me. And I thought, hang on, look at me, I'm well overweight. I mean, I was a big unit. And
good stuff.
Yeah, I was a big unit, because of course being sedentary in psychology, and but I still had that little bit of fire. Like I missed the fact that I couldn't play sport like I used to. But I'm a sports nut. I love to watch sport and be involved. So I went and started training, and then as we went along the year, he said to me, have you ever thought of powerlifting? Or I said, what's powerlifting? Didn't have any idea what powerlifting was. He said, look, go to the world, the World Masters Games, and have some fun and see how you go. Well, I got to the World Masters Games and won two gold and 2 silver medals, which was stunning. It was amazing.
Crazy.
And I went in the weight pentathlon, which I'd never heard of before, and ended up getting a silver medal in that as well. But it was quite an amazing experience. So then he said to me, okay, we're going to go to Townsville and we'll go into a powerlifting competition. Let's just see if you like it. And so we rocked up. I think we left Mackay at 2 o'clock in the morning. Really good preparation for a competition.
Got all the sleep you need.
Yeah, rocked on to Townsville and went in this competition, and I didn't really know. I think the week before he'd said, this is how you squat, this is how you bench, this is how you deadlift. And I didn't have any of the belts or equipment or anything. I just in my sand shoes and just a pair of shorts and just a big t-shirt. And the last, because you do 3 squats, 3 benches and then 3 deadlifts. And my second deadlift, the referee stopped the competition and said, Katrina, are you aware if you put another 2.5 kilos on that, you're going to break an Australian record? And I said, oh, okay, well, can you put another 2.5 kilos on it? Which they did. Everyone just laughed. And it was 202.5 kilos. And see, what the guy at the gym hadn't told me is that what I was doing, he'd never seen women do, well, not in his gym. Women tend not to, women are frightened of, we're talking about, 1990s, women didn't lift those kind of weights. So I was a bit oblivious that nobody was doing this, but I just loved it. Loved being back in the gym, and I remember going to see the orthopaedic specialist again and said, this is what I'm doing, is this okay? I'm not going to break my leg or blah, blah, blah. And he said, Katrina, when has anything I said, you've never taken it on board, so what's going to be different now? He said, he took an X-ray of my leg, and it was super. Like where a lot of the bones were broken, of course, what the body does is put extra calcification around. So he just said, look, be careful, if you're getting problems or issues with it, but be smart with your training, which I always have been, and that was one of the things this fellow always did. He was really good with teaching me about being smart. So yeah, I picked up this 2.5 kilo, 202.5 kilo deadlift, and it was like, oh right, okay, I think I might like this sport. So that's actually how my powerlifting career started.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of crazy. Your trainer, he's just like, just go to a competition and see if you like it.
Yes, if you like it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I wanted to try something, I'm not trying it on the world stage, man. I'm trying it in my little backyard behind closed doors.
It was my backyard. It was just up in Townsville in the back of a gym somewhere, and it was the same as when I broke my first world record. It wasn't something we planned doing, and it was in the back of a gym in Rockhampton. You know, somebody said, "Oh, Katrina, throw on blah blah blah, whatever it was, and see if you can lift it up." And I thought, "Oh, okay, yeah, that could be fun to see what it felt like." Never thinking I could pick it up, but yeah, I did. I think it was 240 kilos or something like that. And you know, it was pretty exciting because, you know, you have your friends and family. We're in Rockhampton. Everyone loves a good story, and so you know, that was a bit of fun. So nothing I set out to do. All I've really done is turned up every day and did my training.
And how much training are we talking about?
I would train maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
Ooh, how many hours is that?
You know, you're probably looking at 10 to 12 hours. And a lot of the training I did, I was working full time.
Yeah.
Because you know, there's no money in powerlifting, let me tell you, especially for big, strong women. When was the last time on your TV you saw an ad with a big, strong woman on it, you know, selling something? You know, if you can't see it, you don't know it exists. Yeah. I'm a have a chat, aren't I?
Have a chat.
Yeah, I love to chat.
It's
so
good.
You pull me up if there's things that you want me to.
Yeah, no, it's really good because I really like what you said about, like, if you don't see it, then it's such a common theme, like, from when you first, like, read about, like, you know, women in sports, and then it's like a thread in your whole journey. Yeah,
and we need to do more. I mean, we women, hence starting the Australian Women's Strength Academy, is about let's we women have a different conversation to support each other. To find those possibilities. I mean, we don't know what those possibilities are, so let's define them for ourselves. Let's have some fun with that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and I wanted to know, what did it feel like on that? You know, like, were you sort of, like, how did it feel to break the Australian world record that first time? When your coach was just like, "Hey, Katrina, just see if you like it."
Well, it was a bit of a shock because I thought, oh, okay, that wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
surely
it wasn't actually that hard.
But it wasn't official because you have to do it at a competition where you've got international referees. So that's when I went off to you know, I made the Australian team. So when I got the Australian tracksuit, I thought of Dawn Fraser, and thinking she had her tracksuit on, her beautiful Australian tracksuit. And I was thinking, oh, wow, this is amazing. How did I get here? I was just that, you know, that sort of not shy, but not very confident kid from the country that just had a crack at things. And I learnt that you just have to do things every day. It's not all these amazing things you have to do every now and then. You have to, you know, you have to do them each day to get to where you want to get to. And I remember flying off to Canada for the first World Championships, and, you know, people on the team sort of, I was 34 at the time. You know, nobody starts a sporting, you know, career at 34. Oh no, I was 36 then.
Wow, even better.
Yeah, I know. How fantastic is that? Because we think sports are just for the young, but they're not. They're for all of us. So when on the way over there, actually talking about my first world record, in Canada, I got there and thought, oh wow, this is more than I thought it was. And being a psychologist, I thought I had it all sorted. You know, I know how to relax. I know how to get in between, you know, how to keep my mind focused in between my lifts and warming up, and had all these amazing things that I was going to use. But got there and it all went out the window. Because it's nothing, you know, for anyone who's never been to a World Championship that's criticised people for not performing at World Championships, go to a World Championships and be on that world stage, and you'll get a sense of how much pressure really there is. And I was actually taken aback of how much pressure, and because I was in the highest weight division, I wasn't lifting until the last day, so I had to watch everybody go through theirs. And then I wondered why, as we were going through, wondering why all these people were being respectful of me, like the Japanese were going like this.
I love this story.
Yeah, and it was all sort of happening. I was thinking, what's going on here? Maybe people are, that thought was maybe people feel sorry for me because I'm so old. I'm older, and wondering about this is my first competition. And didn't think about it. And then on the day of the competition, you have to weigh in, and you have to, go through all your media stuff to make sure it's all correct. And then I realised why this was happening, because what the person had put in, the Australian person had put in for mine was crocodile wrestler. And I said to the head referee, I said, I'm not a crocodile wrestler, I'm a psychologist. And she just laughed. And anyway, that's what went out. I was this crocodile wrestler. Anyway, I said to the woman who'd actually filled out all our forms, what was, how come you put that? And she said, well, the Russians, relative, don't talk to anyone. They're very separate in competitions and keep to themselves. They had sent someone over to the Australian table to ask, why I had such bad scarring on my leg. And that was Crocodile Dundee days. Anyone knew a Crocodile Dundee movie. And she said, oh, well, she wrestles crocodiles for a living. And so it was really good, because it gave me that sense when I was warming up on the platforms, because my coach, the Australian coach, said, whatever you do, don't get on the warm-up platform with, the Russians or the Chinese or, whoever, because it's really dog-eat-dog when you get out there. And, if they can jump in and put you off, or they will. But, everyone left me alone. Everyone was really helpful and supportive, and I just kind of looked at my leg every now and then and rubbed my leg and thought, wow, I'm a crocodile wrestler. That was the best psychology technique I could have ever had, and it took the pressure off me. Really took the pressure off me, because I thought that was just the biggest laugh. And took on the persona of a crocodile wrestler, because that's what spread like wildfire across all the teams. Was me, this woman from Australia who's got a limp, wrestles crocodiles for a living. That's what happened. So it was fantastic. But that's when I broke my first world record. When I went to Canada, it was my first official world record. And I ended up getting 5th in that World Championships, and even being 5th was amazing. And a world record that I could say my name was next to that. It was just an awesome thing. Being the age and having the experience that I have. And then, it's an extraordinary thing to be able to do. To pick up that it's hard to describe. There's a little part of you that gets filled up, because what you did was you just persisted. It wasn't that all of a sudden you've done this amazing thing. You've worked really hard to do that amazing thing. And all I set out was to do more than I did before. I didn't have this dream of being a world champion or lifting world records. It was really more, I just want to do that little bit more. So you work harder, and I never fudged on anything. If I had to do 10 or 12 or whatever I had to do in my training, I never didn't do what I needed to do. I never thought, oh no, I'm too tired to get out of bed, or even though I was working full time and training hard, I committed to it. I committed just every day to do the things that might get me to do a little bit more than I did before. And I guess that's what took me to South Africa the next year.
Yeah, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, well, the next the World Championships the following year, or I probably should say, when I got home from Canada, there was the Australian Championships in Sydney, and I remember thinking, oh, everyone's going to think I'm going to have to lift another world record, and I've just done one, so. There was a bit of pressure when I was there, but my 4-year-old niece was there watching me lift for the first time. She was an absolute cutie. She's just had twins, so we are going back a few moons ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you know, hello to Spencer and Hunter.
Yeah,
hello.
hi.
Yeah. They're just about to turn 1.
Oh, that's so cute.
And hello to little Mia, my other niece.
Yeah, oh, that's so cute.
So I guess the important part of that was, you know, she was so excited to see me lift. Anyway, the last deadlift, I thought, oh, can I really do another world record so soon? And I remember her you know, my sister had to hold her back from running out on the stage because she was so excited about seeing Auntie Katrina up there. Anyway, I lifted the world record. It was, yeah, lifted it again, and it was great. And you know, the crowd roared, and it was all exciting, and lots of celebrating. But when I got back to Mackay, I got this letter that Cregan had written me. You know, that obviously her mum helped her with, and it was dear aunt, rather dear aunt. And she'd left out the U. Dear aunt, you are a real star, and when you lift heavy weights, your face goes red. And I've always kept that, and I've always remembered it because it reminds me, not everyone sees a world record.
Yeah.
She just saw my red face. And we've often laughed about that. And I said, try and lift 240 bloody whatever it was, and not have a red face. Yeah. But it also taught me that, you know, being a big woman, there was a lot of, you know, criticism, not criticism, I guess, society doesn't like big women. You know, there's a lot of things that we're told that we're not good enough, we're not, you know, we sporting women have to, you know, subscribe and prescribe to a certain look or a certain feel or, you know, a certain dress. And, you know, when you're a powerlifter, you wear these pretty interesting suits.
What does it look like?
With these great, they're like the weightlifters. Yeah, you know, so you've got these little, you know, tight suits that you wear that like the weightlifters. Very attractive.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, I didn't really care. And I remember some people saying to me, oh, God, I don't know how you go out on stage looking like that. You know, there were some women that used to chuckle at me because I'd happily walk out on the stage because that's me. You know, and then you put your belt on and then you're scrunching up your tummy and, you know, sometimes it doesn't always look, you know, the way other people are comfortable with you looking. But I thought, so you don't want me to go out there to be, you know, and achieve the things that I can because you're not comfortable?
What an excuse.
So, yeah, you have to make yourself, you have to really challenge yourself and to be more curious about, you know, I can only be me. I can't be what everyone wants me to be, but, you know, if I stick to myself, then that's where I need to be. And, you know, I would not trade any of those experiences for that. And you know, one of the things that I've always tried to be in my discussions or conversations with girls or women are about use the body you have and do what you do. Because, yeah, that's the infinite possibilities, is use your body and just see what it can do. And your mind, you can't forget the mind.
Yeah. Sounds like you've done both in your lifetime.
Yeah, and there's always more, you know, there's always more. Every day we're challenged with, you know, seeing things in a different way, or we choose the way we see them. So I guess in South Africa, after that, I got to go to South Africa because I just always wanted to go to South Africa, which was one of the reasons, because it's expensive paying for your own sport and without any sponsorship. But it was a value to me, and so off we went to South Africa, and the Australian coach said to me on the plane on the way over, Katrina, the best you could do is third, and that's a real, you know, that'd be a stretch.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I would be really happy with third. I mean, being third in the world and I could get a bronze medal, that'd be amazing. But really, I was looking forward to going on safari after. I've always wanted to go to South Africa. So that was the hook for me going there. So I worked hard to make sure I could get on the team. And, you know, in the competition, I thought, you know, as I was going through, after, you know, there's 3 squats, 3 benches, 3 deadlifts. After the third squat, I was coming third. I think I lifted 250 kilos. And the trick with squats is you can't change your mind halfway down. You've got to commit, And that's about, you know, that's courage. You know, you've got to commit that 250 kilos. Going down is easy. It's the trick is coming back up. And then after the third bench, I think I did 147.5 kilo bench. And it's in benching in powerlifting, you have to actually pause on your chest. You can't bounce off your chest.
No.
Yeah, so I was coming third. And then in the deadlift, because I lift the most in the deadlift, and it goes by order of what you're lifting, you know, after the second one, I think I broke a world record in the second lift. I think it was 250 kilos. And I was coming third. And anyway, my coach, you have a minute to put your next lift in. And the coach said to me, Katrina, you've got a big decision to make for your third lift. You can either lift 252.5 kilos to make sure you get third, or you can go for 262.5 kilos to win. Now, I had never contemplated that I could win a world championship. You know, I was going for third because that's what he said. You know, the best result would be me being third. And I said, oh no, put on the 262.5 kilos. He said, are you sure? No woman's ever lifted that.
I am not any woman.
I should have started singing I Am Woman. But it was, you know, it was one of those things that I guess growing up as a country kid and always giving things a go, I just said, yeah, no, let's do that. That'll be great. And then he said, oh, okay, put the lift in, 262.5. And then I went back to sit down and thought, oh my God.
I love it, right?
What have I done? How am I going to do this? How do you lift 262.5 kilos? Because remember, I'd been training in a gym next to a cane paddock. Not on equipment that was, you know, that you use in competition, with my 72-year-old dad.
Yeah.
You know, he said he lifted just as much as I did, but just in small increments as he was putting them on the bar. Anyway, then I thought, oh, how do I do this? Because it isn't something that I trained for, and you know, I was really going.
What's the most you've lifted when you were in training?
I've actually done. I think I did 240. Oh. I did 2 sets of 2 on 240. So going up 20 kilos. So I was actually going up 20 kilos above my world record. And you know, that just doesn't happen, that you break, you know, world records by 20 kilos. But I kind of sat back and thought, well, you know, I've always been someone that's just given something a go because it's there. And it's because I want to try it, I want to feel it, I want to see if that's something that is possible. You know, I thought of Dawn Fraser.
Oh, I love it. Shout out to Dawn Fraser.
Yeah, shout out to Dawn. I thought of Dawn Fraser in that picture. That I would have probably only been 8 or 9 when I saw that picture. And it had such a big impact. And so I thought about that, and I thought, I wonder what she did when she went in competitions. And I just thought, you know, Katrina, you can only just go out and have a go. Who would have thought you're just this little kid from the country that's had an interesting life, broke a few legs and a few other things. What an opportunity. I have an opportunity here to have a go at something no woman's tried in competition. So have a crack. So anyway, I got to the front of the stage for when I was due, because I had 13 minutes before I lifted again. And there's this commentator that was he had a South African accent, of course, and he was going off saying, load the bar for Katrina Robertson from Australia, 262.5 kilos, and he was going off, you know, we're seeing history here, this is amazing, we've never seen this before, we never thought women could lift this. And I was thinking, oh no, what have I done? And then as I walked to the stage, I saw everyone in the auditorium had stood up, and they were all coming down. There was cameras going everywhere, and I was thinking, wow, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people if I don't pick this up. You know those silly, crazy things that come to your head? Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, well, here we go. It's too late now to pull out. I can't change my mind now. I may as well just go out there and have a go. Anyway, so out I went and, picked it up. Like I'd been picking up at training every day, and then held it, waited for the referee to tell me to put it down. I put it down, I turn around, and there were the 3 white lights to say it was a good lift. But you know, I'd never thought about what do I do when I lift it. So I started to dance. Yeah,
Oh.
and if you see me dance,
No, I haven't.
No, not a good look. But that's kind of what went around the the media circles as a telling about the feat. So it was just amazing, my life, and I really that was the lift and winning that World Championships, because I was so excited having lifted it, I didn't realise I'd actually won the World Champs. And my coach came up and said, Katrina, you've actually won the World Champs. So then I just thought, oh my God, so I started dancing again.
Yes!
What do you do? And that moment really did change, a lot of things in perspective for me around, achieving. I never set out to be that. It was never something I'd planned on doing, but I was given an opportunity. And I worked towards that opportunity, but I didn't know that an opportunity was going to arise. And I just feel I made the most of the opportunity because I didn't know what I could do. So I made the most of that opportunity. And I stood up there. And in fact, when I stood up on the dais, I got the... got the medal, got the flowers, and they were just about to put the flags up, but I'd noticed that, or they'd started, and they were putting up the American flag because they didn't know what the Australian flag looked like, because it's been so long since an Australian's won a medal. Anyway, so we had to start again with the Australian flag, and that was amazing, and I actually had the Dawn Fraser moment that I'd always thought about, and it was just extraordinary, and life changed from there. And when you go to that level and you achieve that much, people have these whole different expectations of you, and it's a lot sometimes to manage that. And with a lot of athletes, I often think about that. When you do reach those dizzy heights of really working hard to get something, life has to adjust and you transition.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know, it is a crazy thing, and I love talking about that every now and then, and reminding myself of what are the other things that you've got to do to continue to be the best, the best that you can be. But not the best anyone else thinks you are, but the best that you feel you are. Because we're the only ones that know whether we've got more left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Do you find, like, when you're, like, telling people, you're like, oh man, was that me? That's surreal, kind of like your mind hasn't caught up with your body, and it might never.
Well, actually, when we came in and I saw that photo of me up there, I thought, oh wow. I had all these sort of memories of that time, and I look back and think, wow, was that did I really do that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, because you work really hard to get to those places, and that's the joy though, that you did put in the time and effort and energy. And nobody ever takes those things away from you, because you've achieved them for yourself, and I only ever achieved them for myself. When I say that, I don't mean that it doesn't mean anything for my family. It was great to have my mum and dad there, that they were able to witness that, because I know that was really significant for them. I don't know. It is lovely to look back sometimes, and I go through the photos and have a bit of a daydream.
That's so cool. Yeah, I also have a bunch of other questions that I want to ask you.
Yes.
Yeah. Whoa.
I'm into it. I'm going to have a chat.
Yeah. So, like, I'm kind of curious, like, what people feel when they say they've sort of found their passion. Like, when you're doing that lift, is like your mind completely blank? Because I would imagine it'd be like over in a minute.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, like, what were you thinking in that minute? Were you just like, oh, lift this bloody thing? Or
well, the thing is, you have to work. You have to train really hard. You have to work really hard at. Because to pick up that kind of weight, because you're talking about a couple of fridges there.
Oh my God.
To lift a couple of fridges all at one time, it means that everything has to fire at the same time.
Yeah.
So that means, you have to train yourself in the belief that this is something you want to do, I mean, you know, even squatting 260 kilos, when you put that on your back, your body's saying, what the?
Yeah.
Are we really going to do this? But you've got to be prepared for that. There's something really exciting about having a crack at something you're not quite sure you can do. And that's with training. That's what you train to do. So every time I'd go in the gym, of course, I would be challenged, you know, in stepping up my weights and reps and all sorts of other things. So in lots of ways, competition is the joy from training hard. It isn't always going to, you know, be something that you do or you don't do, but, you know, your training actually prepares you for that. But you really want to do it. I really want to, and I guess in lots of ways, I had, you know, focused my mind and my body to fire at the same time, because I really wanted to lift that.
What's the pep talk like? Can we hear a little bit of Katrina Robertson pep talk? Okay, Katrina Robertson, world record holder. You're about to lift 263. What's running?
Well, you see, all of a sudden, I want to go and lift. I love to lift, and I can still, even when I tell the story, it's almost like my body wants to go out there and do it. I can feel it, I can get excited about it, and that's what training does. I always loved competition. A lot of people hate competition or don't like competition. I love it because I think that's when you can put yourself under, you know, the most pressure, but the gains are so much more. And I remember, you know, the famous tennis player, Billie Jean King. She said, pressure is a privilege. So the pressure is a privilege, and that's what I see in competition. The pressure is a privilege. So do what you can with it, because it's always pressure that brings people to the challenge. How do we deal with pressure? Do we give up too easily? Do we push on? But we have to find ways that help us move to that privilege and see that pressure as a privilege, especially in sport. You know, a lot of, you know, life challenges, you know, we don't always appreciate the pressure, but it's about learning how to deal with that pressure. So any pressure you deal with is about, you know, you can take it into competition with you.
Yeah, that's so good. And I love how you have that sort of gratitude, like it sort of relieves, like, you know how you have this spotlight on you when you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to go out there, I'm representing X, Y, Z, and I don't want to make a fool of myself. But then when you think that, like, oh, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, it's just like a mind switch.
Yeah, well, I think there's much to be grateful for. And I, you know, being in the professions that I have, nursing and psychology, I see every day the privilege that I have. And, you know, I get the privilege of hearing people and sharing their stories, and they're trusting, and, you know, they're challenging themselves to be, you know, and putting themselves in a very vulnerable situation to try and change and make their life in some ways, you know, curious, but how do I get through this? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? And that takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to do that. So I see every day the gratitude and the stories I hear of some of the things that people have endured. I'm in awe of the things that people do to survive, and the ways that parents, you know, sacrifice to give their children what they need to, and their families and their friends. And I feel gratitude. I think gratitude is one of those things that we need to remind ourselves every day. What's something that I can feel good about today? What have I done? Have I said hello to someone? Have I smiled at someone? I mean, masks don't let us smile at people these days, but let's hope. Come on, 80.
Smile with your eyes.
Smile with your eyes. You know, engage. There's so many little things that we can do to make ours and everyone else's lives just that little bit
brighter.
Yeah,
that's a really good, Yeah, but it kind of sucks when sometimes you're doing the right thing, but you don't get the feedback that you want. Like, you smile at someone and then just goes like, and
that they go. And I go, oh, okay, I'll try next time and see what happens.
That's a good attitude.
I just think it's not going to work all the time, but that's okay. But you've actually shown them, and they'll probably think, oh, I wonder why that person smiled at me. Because I think some people do. They think, oh, what's wrong with her? She smiled at me, or she said hello to me. And I think it's a good reminder to people that, hey, we're humans. I'm always going to say hello to people. They probably think, oh, here comes that woman again, and she's always going to say hello. But I'm happy to be that person.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Good
Yeah,
on you.
we all need to do those things. And, you know, the older you get, the less you worry about what people think or feel. You just know that they're the important things that I can do. I can't solve all the world's problems, but I can do little bits every day that make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and I'm kind of curious about, like, when you're training, you're in that gym, you're lifting weights for like X amount of hours, 4 days a week. Like, are you listening to music, or what's running through the mind?
Actually, well, a lot of people, like contemporary people, would you know, laugh. I don't have.
I love that.
I can't. I don't train well with you know, things in my ears, or I don't know how people do it. You know, I'm focused and concentrating on what I need to do at the time. And if you're actually giving your body something else to be concentrating on while you're supposed to be training, it's confusing, and you're not actually getting 100% out of your workout. A lot of people would disagree, but you know, I've found for me, I don't need the noise, or it can be going on around me, but I just find that that's you know, that's just something I need to learn how to tune out. So it helps you refocus, because there's so many things going on around you. Or somebody at the gym is on their phone chatting to somebody, their friends, while they're actually doing the workout, which is really annoying.
Shout out to that person.
Yeah, shout out to all those people at the gym that chat on the phone and irritate everyone around them. I don't need to know what's happening in your life. Keep it to yourself.
Said a former nurse.
Yeah. If I was nursing or in the psychology chair, that's okay. I'm really interested. But when I'm doing my training, I couldn't care less. I'm just in there to focus on what I'm doing. And I guess in lots of ways, I've always been like that. You know, some people think, oh gosh, she's not very chatty or talkative when she's training. Well, I've got things to do. You know, after I finish training, I'm happy to talk to anyone. But while I'm training, I'm pretty focused.
Damn.
Because I love it.
Wow, what do you love? Like, every muscle in your body is screaming.
Yeah, I love feeling. I mean, I'm not pushing myself to the max every day, but there's a challenge and a curiosity. Okay, what am I going to do today? How can I push and make sure that I get through all those reps? So I'm focusing and concentrating on what I'm doing. And I'm a great believer in that, you know, your body will respond if you give it an experience. The experience is you're lifting the weights, you're doing, and your body doesn't count to 10. It doesn't know whether you've done 10 reps or 2 reps. But it's experiencing what it is that you're doing rather than listening or being distracted by everything else. That's how your body will download your workout in a much better way.
Oh, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, sometimes when you don't have other stuff, you tune into your own body. And
that's the whole idea of workouts, is that you're tuning into your body, getting feedback about what's happening. Can I do more? Can I not? Am I doing the reps? Because you're building on something, and if you've got this constant distraction, you know, your build is going to be slower.
Wait, because I know when I'm going for a run, I'm thinking about what happened yesterday. I'm thinking about X conversation. Like, do you have any of that sort of chitter chatter in your mind?
Yeah, I do, and I can do that in between my reps, in between my sets. I'll think, oh yeah, look what that person's doing. Oh gee, I better ring such and such, or what am I going to have for dinner? But when I'm ready to do my next set, I'm refocused.
So your mind is like, lift this.
I'm just in it.
That's crazy.
Takes a lot of practice. Takes a lot of practice, but it also helps, you know, with that. Yeah, it helps with that practice of, you know, having to, you know, change your attention and transition to different things.
That.
It takes a bit of training, but you can work at that.
And I'm kind of curious. Like, you've done a lot of sports, so like, the feeling you get from powerlifting, is it different to, say, playing basketball, swimming, etc.? Because it's all sort of this full concentration flow state.
Yeah. Well, see, flow states are hard. You know, you come in and out of those. And, you know, people often talk about sport, or they talk about a presentation they did, or at a particular time in their life, and they, you know, everything came together. And it all happened. That's flow. But we all have to practice that flow. You know, what makes us get into a flow? What makes us be able to focus and shut out everything else that's going on except what I need to do now? And we learn those things. You know, you learn that when you study.
Yeah.
You went to uni, didn't you?
Still in uni.
Still
One
in
more
uni.
month left.
One more month. Oh, you go, girl. Good on you. And you get through uni by doing it one bit at a time and focusing on parts as you go along.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got that pressure on and you've got to get that assignment done or the exams coming up, you focus on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and I'm also kind of curious because obviously there's pressure when you're like, you know, trying to break a world record, etc. But like in the beginning, like what kind of was the pressure about? Like I guess the first time you did, was it Toowoomba or was it Townsville? Townsville. Yeah. There was no pressure, right? Because your coach is like, just you know, just do whatever, right? And that must have been the most relaxed that you have been for.
Well, I didn't know what was possible. I just was lifting the weights that I was doing in the gym. So to me, it was no different to what I was doing in gym and throwing things on weights to see if I could do it. So there wasn't a lot of, you know, there wasn't a lot of thought go into it. But hey, I just felt like I was at the gym.
Yeah. And when did that sort of pressure start to ramp up?
When I started going to national titles and world titles and Oceania titles and all those sorts of things, you know, that with each competition there are different expectations that people have. And you've got other competitors you're not used to. But I always tried to stick to I'm my biggest competitor.
Yeah.
So it's what's going to happen in here, really, that is going to get me to the end of the competition, not what anyone else does. Because I never worried about what anyone else was doing. I was more focused on what I was doing. You know, there would be all sorts of ways that people would put you off or chat to you or do things or laugh at you or, you know, lots of things people do to put you off. But I just sat in my own little space. Yeah. I'll wrestle that crocodile anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you later got pressure, would you say the pressure was more like internal, like I don't want to disappoint myself, or is it? I feel like pressure is more towards like other people, like you feel that you might not meet their expectation. Was it that sort of thing? Were you worried about, who was it that you were worried about when you had pressure?
Well, there were competitions that I didn't, you know, do the best that I felt I could, and I felt I let myself down and I let other people down. But that's the thing you learn through sport, or you know, giving things a crack. You're not always going to do it right all the time. So not being able to do it right all the time, you actually learn about, you know, what does the pressure mean, and is it failure? I mean, there's no such thing as failure. You got to have things. You got to have a go at everything. You know, whether you pass an exam or you're not, you do it again.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
I better not tell your mother that.
Yeah.
But I think we place so much on that one moment that is really about, we have to be clear about our intention. What are we doing here? You know, what is the process that I've done? If I've done all my training and I still get beaten, I know, hey, I got beaten by a better person on the day. Yeah. There's nothing more I could have done to that. So it's always a learning tool, and those things always shift us to the next, you know, piece of the puzzle. Yeah. I think life's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, we're putting bits together, or we're changing the landscape. Sometimes it changes. You know, when I had my accident, my world changed totally. I had to get out a new jigsaw puzzle, and then it changed again in nursing, and then it changed again doing psychology, and then it changed again, you know, doing powerlifting. So we're in this transition all the time about, you know, what things mean to us. And pressure is one of those things that it's really about us. I remember Shakespeare said, "Nothing is either good or bad, but our thinking makes it so." That's a great saying. It's only what we create, you know, the expectations around. And I always wanted to perform the best, and we all want to win, but the reality is we're not always going to win. So it's about what we take out of the times when we don't get what we want. And I've learnt more by not winning or not doing the right thing. Or sometimes I've won, but I haven't actually reached the you know, the totals that I wanted. So you're learning lots of different things all the time. It's just about taking it on board and not being so hard on yourself that you can't learn from it and take it to the next competition. Because it's just, you know, what you do in your world today, you know, it sets up what you're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. Yeah, I'm also kind of curious about, like, you know, when people, I guess, rise to fame, there's like a lot of change in how their friends treat them. And did you sort of experience, like, you know, some people, they're trying to, you know, snuggle up to you and be like, oh, hey, Katrina, trying to be your friends. How did you sort of, like, was there a lot of, like, fake friend situation going on when you...
Well, I think there's always a joy. You know, when somebody succeeds to that level, you know, it's almost like we gravitate towards them, hoping that a bit of that rubs off. Or, you know, there's some social credits to get when you've got a friend, or you know, it maybe pushes you up the social ladder in some ways. But, you know, I think that's just a normal thing. You know, when people achieve something that, you know, is extraordinary, or do things that you never thought that you could, we like to be around them, and we like to, you know, get the feeling that comes with that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think everything works out, you know, it comes and goes, and, you know, you enjoy that. You enjoy being able to get people to think about things in a different way. But, yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, a lot people ask a lot of you after that. There was a lot of expectation about, you know, that you also now, you know, give your life to other people in your community, and you know, you get asked to do a lot of things, and sometimes, you know, you've got to reel that in. That's a really good attitude to have, because I don't know, I would feel that, like, if I was imagining being famous, etc., then I would be like a little bit more insecure in my friendships, because I don't know who really cares about me, or if they were to care more about the titles, and then well, I think in some ways you've got to stick to the group that you had before. I mean, they're always going to be your go-to, and you'll make a lot of friends along the way as well, but that's about knowing, you know, what do I want out of the friendship? And, you know, sometimes it's about different levels of friendship. You have acquaintances, and then you have friends, and then you have good friends, and then you have, you know, the great friends or besties. So there's all different levels of friendships that people come in and out of. So that's always the way that I saw it.
Got to level up to Katrina's bestie.
Your bestie. I mean, I've got some besties that I've had for 40 years. So that I met when I was 20. That, in fact, quite a few of us got together last weekend. So those people you always know are going to give it to you straight. So you know, you go to those trusted people, and that's where you get your sense of where you need to be.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just find that, like, when you get older, like, your values change, and sometimes it's very hard to go back to those older friends that you've had before. But
I don't know. I think I've had lots of people, and you know, sometimes you don't see people for 10 years, and you catch up, and it's like, you know, you saw them yesterday.
Love that.
And I am probably that kind of a person. I'm not always a great. I get busy, and I forget. You know, I'm sure that I sent that text back.
Katrina.
You probably know that. I think, but I've had the conversation in my head. I think, I'll tell Karen I'll be able to do that next week. But, you know, I think the whole friend thing is you get you meet lots of people, and lots of people are very generous with their time and their conversation. But, you know, in the end, really, you have a small group of people that, you know, are your, you know, people that you go to in times that you need to talk about something. But there's different friends that you have that you do different things with, and you learn as you go. What works and what doesn't work for you with some people and not others. You don't have to be everyone's good friend.
That's true. And just, curious, have you lost any friends because of powerlifting? Like, because of the, like, I don't know, the stigma of female sports, etc.?
Well, I think what I learnt through that, and it was difficult at the time, that there were some people that weren't comfortable with what I did. I mean, I was about 125 kilos at the time. So, you know, and here I am achieving all these things. And I think there was a lot of people that didn't quite know what to do with that.
Yeah.
They wanted to be really happy for me, but, you know, maybe not always excited about being in a photo with me, but I know it's and I think it is a real challenge we have around the way that women look, and we're even more obsessed now with youth and the way that we look and what we wear, and we have all these influencers telling us what we need to do and when and where and how, and sometimes I think we can rely on ourselves for those decisions. We can rely, and sometimes we've got to push back. This is who I am. I couldn't at the time I wasn't going to change what I was doing or how, so I guess there was a lot of things that you would expect someone who's achieved, or what I achieved, you would expect that there would be some trade-offs for that a lot of things in the world and possibilities would open up. But I retired because I couldn't get any sponsorship, and it wouldn't have mattered what I did. When I look back, I wasn't going to get any sponsorship.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
And I think that they're the learnings that you have in life. It would have been great if life had been better. It would have been more, it would have certainly made life easier. And I probably would have continued lifting for a long time. I mean, I still lift and I still compete. It would have made life a lot different, because here I was, a woman in her mid-30s. I think I won world champs at 37. So you'd think at that time that I would have, that there would have been conversations people had and that wanted to support. I mean, I had a great group of friends and family, but when you're having to travel a lot, it costs a lot of money. But I sometimes think, they're the experience that we have that we don't whinge about. We think, okay, well, what does it want to do? How can I find a way of doing it? And at some stage that, okay, I'm going to have to stop doing this because I can't afford it. But that's life. It will change, hopefully, as women go along, that we will have a different way that we look and enjoy women's sport, and not compare it to men's sport. We can't compare it to men's sport because we're not men. We're women, so our achievement is different, and the way we achieve things are different. So I do look back on those times and sometimes think, it would have been great if. But the world still isn't ready for that. So I think we just chip away until we women, because it's the women that will change it just as much as men. And that let's just be excited about the way that women can perform and achieve.
Was there a bit of bitterness at the time, not being able to get the sponsorship?
Not really. You can go down that path.
It's so easy to. It's
easy to go down the path, but sometimes you'll find. I used to find my mind go around and say, what is wrong with me? I remember Casey Chambers' song came out, I'm not pretty enough.
I know that one.
And I remember thinking, good on you, Casey Chambers. You're saying it, girl. And I think sometimes, we as women, we fight hard in sport for the things that we want and the things that, we want to participate in. But it's like anything. We've got to find each day ways of changing people's opinions of what's important, and we have to take on board what's important to us and push forward to making those changes and having better conversations with ourselves, and enjoying what each other's do. We've got each other's backs.
That's so good. And just wondering, so I guess since officially retiring whatever on the books, how do you sort of, I don't know, come back to normal life where it's there's no the bright lights, there's no the people screaming, and how do you sort of find another way to sort of, I don't know, maybe replicate it?
The transition is hard.
So hard, right?
Because you're pushing yourself to lots of limits that you're really enjoying, and you're traveling the world, and there's so many great bits that you get, so eventually part of your persona is attached to that sport. Luckily for me, I started later, so I had a different perspective, but I did find it hard. I really find it hard, and I still miss it. But I still, even though I retired then, I have started lifting again. I'm still competing. I was going to the World Championships last year. But of course, we all know what happened. COVID came along, and they were in South Africa. That's why I was going back in 2020. Actually, I wanted to go back and get another gold medal 20 plus years later.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You know, and it's sometimes it's about recapturing the joy of being in that kind of competition.
Yeah.
Not really, you know, the accolades around it, because you know, powerlifting isn't, you know, a major player in the sporting stage. But I think going back and competing has been a really good thing. But you do miss it, and you go through a transition, and it can be a really hard thing for a lot of athletes when they retire.
Yeah,
really hard.
There's generally like a bit of depression.
Yeah,
when you go
depression is a very common thing. Because you know, when athletes push themselves to that level, sometimes there can be some anxiety as well. You know, about that constantly going out there every week and performing and being at their best and being judged by the public. So yeah, lots of considerations around that.
Yeah, but damn, it sounds like psychology really did help you out. And I love it because, like, I guess, you know, there are disadvantages of starting later in life, but there's that sort of maturity and that sort of almost like acceptance, patience.
Well, the other thing too about psychology is that, you know, you also then get to be able to pass along a lot of your own lessons. And you know, have the conversations that sometimes people, you know, you want to have. You know, to be honest about, this is how I'm feeling. I think we need to have more of those conversations about, you know, this is how I'm feeling. Is this normal? Is this okay? And what can I do differently? How can I challenge and be more curious about doing it in a different way? But sometimes it's for people, it's just I don't quite know how to do it differently. And that's why, you know, it's good to have conversations with people like me, so that you can sort of think, oh, okay, that doesn't seem too bad, I can try that.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool. It's almost like you're being dawned in your own way, like you're showing people like, hey, this is what you can do, this is showing them, I guess, different possibilities.
Yeah. Well, you know, the fact that you've called this infinite possibility
and
is fantastic. It's fantastic because, you know, it doesn't matter what situation you come across, there's always ways of seeing it in a different perspective, in a different way, with different ways of using strength and solutions to look at it. Sometimes we're not all ready, you know, at the time we're not always ready to see it or talk about it. But, you know, when we get around to it, that's a good conversation to have. Because we don't all know it. We don't go to the school of life. It's on-the-job training, being human. So we just have to learn along the way. And not be afraid to learn along the way.
I definitely admire your courage, like the giving it a go. Yeah. I'm also kind of curious in terms of psychology. How do you sort of like, I don't know, like, do you hear like, I imagine the psychologist and there's like 100 people and they're like, here's my problems, and then you're almost like drowning in it, and how do you sort of switch off? And
well, I guess when you've been doing psychology for a long time, and I guess nursing helped me with that too, you can't take everybody's stories home.
How do you not? How do you learn?
Well, you learn along the way to be able to, you know, to say, okay, it's a bit like you when you're studying. You're not always studying, are you?
No. I mean, look, we're
and
here.
Sometimes in psychology that's the same. You know, you do the things and you listen to the stories and or share the stories, and you know, when it comes time that I've finished, then there's always a little transition thing, and then I'm into my own life then. Because you can't, it's like any job, anything that we do, we can't be in something all the time. Otherwise we'd never enjoy our life. And it's understanding that, you know, you don't have to be, just because you've heard stories, and some of them you know, are challenging stories, but in lots of ways though you can't carry those around with you all the time. That story belongs to that person. It's not my story. It belongs to that person, and they can have that. They can own that. And I'm only a facilitator in that story. I'm not an owner of the story. So that's how, even though sometimes there's stories that stay with you for a while, Mostly, you know, you learn how to shut off from work and off you go, just like everyone else.
Yeah, damn. Kind of curious, have you ever like cried with the patient when the patient is like bawling their eyes out?
Look, yeah, I'd have to say, yeah. I've had, I mean, I haven't, you know, bawled or, but yeah, sometimes you just can't help when you hear a story that, you know, the tears come.
Yeah.
But, you know, not sobbing, but sometimes you'll have some tears and, you know, within context, you've got to make sure that you have that context around tears. And that's always about them, it's never about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, also, like, I just have a bunch of random questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, you know how people say that, like, if they're in an accident, they have, like, the lights flash before their eyes? Did any of that happen? Did you see anything? Ah, disappointing.
No, I remember being in the hospital and I remember feeling really weird as I was going along the corridor as they were taking me to theatre, and there was all this rush and whatnot, and and I remember seeing all these white walls as we were going along this corridor.
Yeah, but you weren't really...
When I came back, the walls were green. Because that was the hospital I nursed in. So there was all these things that I went back, I thought, oh, I don't remember it looking like that. Yeah. But of course you're in an altered state, you know, when you're in that kind of
like high.
Yeah, you're in an altered state. But no, I didn't. If I actually saw something, I reckon I'd be out there saying, "Hey, look, everyone, this is what happens." But no, there was just a lot of pain and discomfort.
Yeah, and then like right before the crash, did you have that like oh damn moment? Or
I did as the bike was sliding under the car. It was like oh, yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah, it must feel like another lifetime ago sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, and then now we're almost at the end, so we're going to chuck in a deep question. So Katrina, like what is the meaning of life to you?
Meaning of life. I always think of Monty Python films when I think of the meaning of life, because that was one of the... Oh, you probably don't know Monty Python, do you? Wow, I am showing my... I don't know what the meaning of life is. I just think every day I just get up and do the things that I need to do. But the most important thing I think in life is to be true to yourself. Oh. That's the meaning of life. Is to be authentic and genuine, and you can't be too far from where you are. It does take courage to be authentic and to be brave. So I try and encourage myself to be brave each day. You know, say the things and do the things that are true to you rather than maybe what other people might want or think.
Yeah, that reminds me of this really good quote that I saw. It said something about like there's a certain sort of like satisfaction, courage in like being yourself despite the consequences. Right? Because it's so hard to, Well, there's consequences to everything we do, and you know, and I think we have to learn is that not everyone's going to be happy with what we do. But you know, the intention is about, is this something that's important to you? Yeah. Yeah, and Katrina, what's like the perfect day in the life look like for you? Because I feel like, like, you know, life isn't really like the big highs and stuff. No, it's like the day to day. So I'm kind of curious, like your perfect day, you can design it any way you want. What do you want? I guess my perfect day is, because I'm a have a chat, as you probably gathered, I love to talk. It would be, you know, spending time with friends and family, chatting, talking, you know, playing sport, you know, cricket in the backyard or having a swim or, you know, having, I think, being around the people that I really enjoy. That's usually my best day. But of course, we can't do that every day. But, you know, I think more importantly for me is making a contribution. Being productive and making a contribution, and that contribution doesn't have to be, you know, some major thing. My contribution is to each day, you know, make a difference. Whether that's smiling at someone or, you know, having a conversation or supporting or, contributions can be a whole range of different ways, because we can't wait for everyone out there, you know, to make the world a better place. We can't wait for politicians to make the world a better place. It's up to us to contribute every day, being consistent in you know, being our better selves. That's a really beautiful message. Thank you, Karen. Well, and thank you for inviting me along. Yeah.
And to everyone out there, I hope you can take something from
sure they
this.
will.
And I look forward to saying hello to you all at some stage.
Yeah.
Let's hope we run into each other. And if you see me on the street, please say hello.
Please smile back.
Okay.
But yeah, Katrina, what's your podcast experience like? We'll do that as well.
My podcast experience, it's been great because I like to talk. And I really admire you, Karen, for doing this. Infinite possibilities and having a go at something. And interviewing isn't always an easy thing to do.
It's hard. You've got to think 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, so well done you, and I'll be really keen to follow how you go.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that you're going to be chatting to Chris at some stage.
Yeah.
And that'll be great. So look out for that one too.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Katrina.
My pleasure, Karen.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Yeah.
Me too. Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.